introduction to what I'm going to go on to talk about. So my name's Laurie Leslie. I'm a Senior Project Officer within the Employability team. So I guess my slides will just cover a bit more about, from our perspective, the types of services that we might look for and why we've thought that this kind of flexible route to commissioning really matches for what we're after and the service we want to deliver around employability. So if you bear with me one moment. I'm just going to close that. Apologies. This is the joys from working from home, folks. So our service is branded externally as EBZ Works, but as Keely mentioned, we're the employability team within Aberdeen City Council. So we deliver a holistic, person-centred employability service to people from the ages of 16, so potentially having just left school, right through to nearing retirement age. Our funding predominantly comes from Scottish Government. Those are the main funding streams that we work with, but there are other pockets of activity that we deliver potentially from other sources of funding, but I would say the main ones are the Scottish Government ones. This is similar across Scotland, so all 32 local authorities will receive employability funding, but it's within our gift to decide how we commission activities and really adopt a place-based approach so that we are commissioning and delivering the services that our local area needs. And we do that through working very closely with partners. So you can see in the middle box there, we mentioned the Local Employability Partnership, often referred to as a LEP. As Francis said, we like our abbreviations in the public sector, but the LEP is a partnership made up of a number of organisations. Ourselves, Aberdeen City Council, are the chair of that forum. We've also got the Department for Work and Pensions, Skills Development Scotland, the North East of Scotland College sit on the LEP, Developing the Young Workforce North East. We've got ACVO, who are Aberdeen Council for Voluntary Organisations. They represent the third sector in our area. We've also got a representative of the Employability and Training Providers Forum, sits on the LEP. And have I forgotten anyone? We also, from the council side, ourselves as the employability team sit there, but we also have colleagues in the likes of education and other services that contribute towards employability. We do think of that in its widest sense. I'll go on to talk about the stages of the employability pipeline, which is very relevant to how we've lotted the different lots within this framework further on in the presentation, but we really are looking at the whole picture of employability and taking that holistic approach. So thinking of people that might be really far away from being job ready, having a lot of complex barriers, right through to those that are a bit closer, maybe just need a bit of vocational training, some CV support to get into work. So we really are within the LEP looking at that wide group of people in terms of the support that we want to deliver. So as it says here, the Aberdeen's LEP has agreed as part of the No One Left Behind delivery plan. Setting up this framework was really an action within that, and the delivery plan, it's available on our ABZ Works website, but it's really quite a living document. It will be updated over the next few years, but that within the report is really setting out our intention as an employability service and a partnership as to what kind of support that we want to deliver and who to. So I would recommend for any of you, if you're looking for that kind of background, that kind of context about our approach, I would certainly look at that delivery plan to give you that overall picture. So as I say, within the report, one of the actions was to create a procurement framework that would enable rapid, responsive and flexible approach to current and emerging issues. So hence why we're here today to talk about procurement and specifically the commissioning of those employability services. It's part of an aspiration to provide mixed market of activities to create, as I've discussed, that kind of holistic person-centred approach so that whoever is indicating they might have a need for employability support and whatever their barriers, that we've got an intervention that's suitable for them. So a lot of this Keely's already covered within her presentation in terms of why we're using a DPS. I think some of the key points that certainly she highlighted is just the changing landscape within employability. As the government have implemented their No One Left Behind agenda, that's been over various stages over the last few years and will continue for the next few years. We have seen a lot of changes to how employability services are delivered. We've also seen a lot of changes within need within the market. So obviously we've had some very out of the blue events and very significant events in the last few years that have affected many of the people looking for work. One of them, of course, being COVID-19. One of the many things that we saw coming out of that was unfortunately significant mental health challenges, particularly looking at our young people at that side of the scope of the group that we work with, and potentially having worked from home for a long time, not feeling confident to come out and engage in employability activity. So that was a trend that we saw increase following COVID. We've also seen recently in the city a number of quite significant redundancy events. Again, unexpected situations that might come about and might result in quite a significant number of people then being out of work. Also, again, quite specific to this place, being Aberdeen, we've seen a number of Ukrainian guests join the city, with us being a dispersal city. So that's had quite a huge impact in terms of the demographics of the group that we're working with and the needs that they might have. So these are just some live examples that we as a city have experienced that kind of promotes the need for this flexible approach, for us to be responsive and for us to recognise the different trends and different situations that are happening in our area and are able to commission quite quickly, potentially very specific services based on those trends that we're seeing. So I think I would highlight from there just the benefit of this flexible system in such an ever-changing environment, whether that's around policy or whether that's around our customers and the people that we're looking to support. Again, here are some of the points that we're really looking for when we're utilising the DPS, dynamic purchasing system. So again, Keely's gone through a lot of these. It's there on the screen, but again, some of the key things we're looking at, although during COVID, we had no option but to move a lot of our support online, we have found the quality and the progression of individuals that we work with in a lot of cases. We really see the benefits when delivery happens in person. So through that, you'll potentially see in a number of the mini competitions that really is what we're looking for when we're sharing these opportunities, is yes, potential for hybrid working, but really kind of local level delivery and delivered in person, that option being available for the people that we're supporting. Delivered with a quick turnaround, that's linking to that responsive nature. Again, that's enabled when we're using a framework such as a DPS. Easily accessible, hopefully, to you guys as contractors and potential contractors. That's why we're hosting events like this, to really try and make it as accessible as possible. And you've got that benefit that people can join over the course of the 5 years. So although we had that initial kind of deadline, as Keely mentioned, that was earlier this week, it essentially opens right up again, so that as demand changes, as a need potentially change, we've got that opportunity for other organisations to continue to join the framework, which we see as a huge benefit, especially over a period of 5 years where we know a lot potentially can change. What are our aims when looking at employability services? So really kind of bringing out a bit more about what I've mentioned around that person-centred approach. It's really just looking at that to have a wide breadth of services that really anyone looking for that support can find what they need. It should be quite a straightforward landscape, and just as it's saying there, our overall aim is reducing unemployment and poverty, and really getting people onto that journey towards self-development and achieving better outcomes for themselves, and bringing people, individuals and families out of poverty. And all of these aims are kind of set out in that delivery plan that I spoke about that was agreed by the local employability partnership. That plan also identifies our priority groups, which are summarised here. It's not that one person might fit neatly in one of these boxes. It might be that a few of these are applicable to the same person, and it might be that this is not all encompassing. There may be other groups that emerge, or other groups that are that kind of further from the labour market, facing compliance barriers that aren't neatly described in those boxes. But you appreciate the nature of working with people. There'll be all kinds of people that we're looking to support, but what this does is really just pull out some of the key groups that the LEP have identified as priority groups. But as I say, it could be that one person fits in a number of these, as you see there. They are quite broad. Benefits of using this approach. Again, just as it says there, better options and outcomes for individuals who are supported. We know the broader kind of societal benefits and the health benefits for individuals that are in work. So it could be, as it says there, better mental, physical health, decreases in crime, not just the benefits to the economy of course, having people in work and to their own financial situation, but you can see the wider ripple effect really that it can have when we've got people in work. So that's really why we're so passionate about getting that support that they most need to better themselves and to reach their full potential. Also, they're looking at the organisation side of things. Will enable all size of organisations, including the really small grassroots organisations that might not even realise they're delivering employability support, but they might be delivering some form of confidence building, a social setting, encouraging people out of their houses, maybe those very early stages of getting people out of their house and on the pathway towards further progress, whether that be into work, into further education. But this framework really will enable even those smaller organisations to engage in the process. So I'm going to go on to talk a bit about the lots and why we've kind of chosen to lot as we have. So there's a total of 9 lots. The first 5, for those of you that are familiar with the employability pipeline, they basically map against that. So for those of you that are familiar, this should come as kind of no surprise as I move through the different lots, and should be something that you're quite used to and familiar in terms of what these mean. So it talks there, we'll go on to talk about 69 as well, but these are more specific areas that are additional to the 5 stages of the pipeline. And you can see it says there, health being a lot. Those local kind of grassroots community-based providers that I spoke a little bit about there, and also an innovation lot, which might just be activity that doesn't fit neatly into one of the stages, but we'll go on to talk about them in a little more detail. So again, lot 1 reflects stage 1 and pre-stage 1 of the employability pipeline. So this is very, very early stages. Some of the types of activity are noted there. So it's looking at outreach activities, really finding the people that need our support the most. They're not job ready. They tend to be furthest away from being job ready. And at pre-stage 1, they might not even have kind of employment as their goal yet, just very early stages of getting onto that pathway of developing their confidence, developing their skills and seeing where that might take them. So stage 1 is for very kind of early intervention work. Stage 2, again, these people are not job ready yet. This is starting to look at the kind of action plan and developing personalised support and barrier remover for those people. So we can see some specific advice there. Could be support around their well-being, starting to look at the world of work, getting some career information and advice. that holistic side coming in. So we've got some examples there of financial advice and support, coaching and mentoring, mental health. So just a few examples there. That's not all encompassing, but just to try and give you that flavour of the wider barriers that someone might face and the skills that we might equip them with to help them on their onward journey and help them towards that focus towards employment. 3 and 4 showed there together. This is where it comes down to some really quite vocational activities. So that could be including work experience, encouraging them to volunteer, developing kind of quite specific employability skills so that people are really starting to get quite well equipped and getting the opportunity in some cases to experience the world of work and get that kind of in-work experience that they'll get nowhere else. So that's where we're looking at really getting closer to being job ready. Similarly with stage 4, starting to set them up for what to expect at work, what are your rights, knowledge around that. So we're just moving along the journey towards being work ready, with number 5 being in work support and aftercare. Just really helping them sustain that, which with our No One Left Behind funding, we have that opportunity to offer in-work support, which has been really beneficial, particularly if someone falls out, they can be picked up again. But in a lot of cases, they won't fall out because they've got that neutral person to talk to about getting advice or anything they're unsure about now that they're in their kind of positive destination. So moving on to look at lot 6 to 9, these are the ones that are outside of the employability pipeline stages. So personal development is lot number 6. And you can see that this is that kind of holistic services that can be put against a person at any stage of the pipeline. A top example there, ESOL, so English for speakers of other languages. There's some real demand for that in the city at the moment. As I mentioned, we have quite a significant number of Ukrainian guests. That was an emerging need and a very much common need amongst that group. There's a lot of demand there. So again, that's reinforcing the benefit of having quite a flexible system. Spoken a little bit about money matters, confidence building, general life skills that could be applicable really for anyone on their work journey, whether they're far away or closer. These are the kind of services that might just benefit someone, as I say, that sit outside the pipeline. And lot 7, really looking at health, disability and recovery. These are health focused interventions because, as you'll have seen in the priority groups, disabled people are one of our priority groups. So you can see just there that these could be really focused intervention to support people, mental or physical, any kind of long-term condition or disability, because these are one of our key group, and a group that would potentially need quite specific interventions depending on their disability or their condition. So again, this can relate across the pipeline stages. Now we've got 8, our grassroots and community groups, which we've spoken about a lot. They can be the smaller size people, organisations that maybe don't realise they're offering employability support, but very much are doing work in the community that could benefit towards our approach and our aim. And finally, lot 9, bit of a miscellaneous lot. This could be anything that comes up unexpectedly. And that takes me to the end of my presentation. So hopefully that's been helpful. Just again, giving you a bit more insight on what the lots are looking at, why we took the approach to choose the lots that we did, and what essentially that means in a little bit more detail. So thank you very much.
Perfect, Laurie, thank you so much. I lost your sound for the last second there. I'm so sorry, just that last sentence that you said, your sound dipped. I assume it's not for me because I think Paul had similar issues. Are you able to go back and repeat just that last sentence? I'm so sorry, thank you.
I think I was just really saying thank you to everyone for listening. So